Push, 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 and relax. Push into my hands. Push, 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 and relax. What is that? That's extension concentric, right? Push into my hands. Good. Now, hold that position right there. Okay, just resist me a little bit, but I'm going to push you back up. Rest. Come back into my hands. Resist me, but let me win. You feel that, Ryan? Mm-hmm. And what is that? That's eccentric for extension, right? And that's it, right there. I'm done.
That's all for the lumbar? That's the only thing you want
That's
to do?
for extension,
Or just
isometric, concentric, eccentric.
okay.
Here you go. Resist me here. There's isometric, or same thing. Push into my hands. And good. And again. And there's isometric. Okay. Here's concentric. Go ahead and push into my hands for me. Push, 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 push. Relax. Push into my hands again for me. You want to cue him every time he returns. Make sure you're sitting good. Okay, good. There we go. All right. Now, we could take that a step further and we could have him do curl ups. Right? How about concentrics? I'm sorry, how about eccentrics? Okay, go ahead and come out here. Come out and push on my hands. Good, now hold that for me right there. All right, I'm gonna push you back, let me win. Good. Come out for me. Right here, touch my hands. Good. I'm gonna push you back, let me win. Good. There's eccentric. So that's all sagittal stuff. All right?
You said that was eccentric? So what's concentric?
Concentric is me here. Push into my hands and I let him move forward. So that's eccentric flexion. I'm sorry, concentric flexion.
Okay, so you were doing extension, now you're doing flexion. So you're
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Correct.
And then what about lateral? Is that the only motion?
You come show me lateral.
Well, that would be, we're just doing side to side?
Well, come show us lateral.
This is what I was thinking of. I was doing like that?
Okay, so what are you doing? What type of contraction is that?
Isometric.
Correct.
And hold for 5 seconds. And then just switch in both sides.
Mm-hmm. Now, one thing I would urge you to do is to take that other hand, possibly go to a hip.
Okay.
And what are you doing there? You're stabilizing. Okay. I'd even go down to the hip because you're above. When you put it on his waist, you're above, and you need to be above and below. Remember that rule from passive range is to always be above and below the joint if you can.
Okay.
So get above and below. So put one hand on a hip, one hand on a shoulder. Very good.
Okay.
Because please bear in mind, isometrics are done early in the healing phase. So everything you do with isometric is going to be very subtle. It's going to be very light. You're not going to be putting a whole lot into that. And so as you approach that patient and you do that, they're going to guard, and they're already going to be pretty hypersensitive to what you're doing. And so when you put a hand here and a hand here, you're going very light.
Okay.
So you don't have to be strong to do this. I just want to see that what you're doing is, yes, isometric, I agree. Is yes, concentric, I agree. Is yes, eccentric, I agree. Because one thing that will happen is the next clinical, that's what you'll be charged with, is have them do something isometric, have them start doing concentric stuff, have them start doing eccentric stuff, and that you don't just have to go, well, what do you want me to do? Because your CIs never want that. They want you to make an attempt. Even if you're 100% wrong, if you're like, yep, I got that. And they see you and they say, wait a second, what you're doing is not eccentric. For that, try it this way.
Okay, so let me, I don't know if I gotta try this the same.
Yep.
So if we're doing concentric side to side,
Okay.
you do that?
Lateral, yes.
Okay. So this is concentric, and then,
Well, that was isometric more.
but if he, went over, you're going against it. So eccentric, just pulling back, and then,
Okay.
am I doing that right?
So first cue him to sit on his ischial tubes
Okay.
because he's already started sacral sitting again.
I'm getting tired of it.
Okay. And then,
It's all endurance. What I tell you guys, that's the first thing to go, right? All right, so put a hand on a hip.
okay.
Stabilize. Nope, you're fine. You can do it all from right there
Okay.
because then you don't have those knees in your way. All right, perfect.
Okay.
So a little lower on that right hand. Perfect, right there.
Sorry
So
about this, Ryan.
what I'm trying to do is get you to
Yeah.
get a good hand position. I mean, it may feel a little uncomfortable the first few times, especially if you're dealing with opposite gender.
Okay.
What you're doing is hold here, hold here. Now, let him push into your left hand,
Okay.
and he will move you. Now, it won't be much, right? But he'll move you laterally, right there. You just resist that motion. So
Okay.
put him back to neutral.
Neutral. and
Now you
push,
resist him. Let him come back with no resistance.
Okay.
And again, push into it. Right,
And then let him come back.
right. Concentric, they will do the action to the end. You can remove your hand and let them go back to neutral. This is the same for everything. So, for instance, relax for me for a second. I can resist, go ahead and curl for me. I can resist, right? Pull my hand off, return to neutral. Up. Pull my hand off, return to neutral. Now for eccentric, I start them at the end or terminal position of the action. That's where I start my resistance, right? And I just say, resist me, but let me win. I'm stabilizing all the way to the end. And then I say, return to the top. Return to the top. So we get to thorax 2. I'm going to talk to you about elbow conditions. The extensor mass that starts at the lateral epicondyle, correct? If you don't do this exercise, then you've done nothing for their lateral epicondylitis. Go ahead and just hold your wrist up. Hold your wrist up for me. Relax. There you go. Can you open your hand for me? Good. Now what I want you to do is resist me, but let me win. I'm going to push you down. Resist me, but let me win. Good. Now return to the top. Good. Return to the top. What is that? That is eccentric wrist extension. And if you do not do this exercise for lateral epicondylitis, you are not improving their problem. It is a tendon issue. This is where eccentrics reign. Anytime you have a tendon issue. Give you one more. You have a patient who comes in and says, I have Achilles tendonitis. You say, no, you don't. You have Achilles tendinopathy. Degradation of the tendon. I'm doing this with terrible mechanics. I'm not going to because I'm not going over here. Right? This is stretching the Achilles tendon, true? Okay. So if I want to concentrically activate the Achilles tendon muscles, the gastroc and soleus, I'm here, come up. Now I'm going to focus on eccentrics. Foot off. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and that's not an isometric count. Both feet back on, up. Slowly lowering it, right? And there's the eccentric control. I have a patient who has patellar tendinopathy. They play basketball. What is that? That's eccentric lowering of the quads with focus on the tendon, right? You start them in the terminal position, and then you let them slowly accept the load.